Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about tripods. When you might want to use a tripod, some of the features of tripods, and if you're looking to purchase a tripod, some of those features that you might want to consider before you actually do the purchase. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the video. The main purpose of a tripod is stability. Some of the situations that you might want to use a tripod would be long exposures, such as taking pictures of waterfalls and getting that nice, smooth, silky movement in the water, light trails, self-portraits, studio portraits, panoramas, exposure bracketing. So there are many situations where you may want to consider using a tripod. When considering using a tripod, you're going to want to take several factors into account. Things like what type of shot you're trying to get, what the scenario is for that type of shot, what your gear is capable of. You know, a camera that has, say, IBIS, and if matched with a lens that has image stabilization, you're going to have something that's much more stable. You're going to be able to take a longer exposure without using a tripod. But if you have a tripod, then generally you can take as long of an exposure as you want without any consequences to image quality. Some of the reasons why you may not want to use a tripod is, well, quite honestly, they can be cumbersome. So if something is going on and you're trying to get the shot and you're messing around trying to set up your tripod, you actually may miss that shot. The other thing to consider is weight. If you are hiking a long distance to go take a photo shoot, the added weight of a tripod can actually add up over that distance, and you'll start to feel it. So let's get into some of the features of a tripod. And the first feature I'm going to talk about is actually the construction of material. Generally, there's two types of material that tripods are constructed out of. I'm sure there's many others other than these two, but these are the two most common that I've seen. One is aluminum, such as the two that I have here, and the other material is carbon fiber, which is this tripod here, which is actually my go-to tripod, is made out of. So the legs on this are carbon fiber. So let's talk about the aluminum tripods first. Aluminum tripods are usually the cheaper of the two options. They can actually be a little sturdier, but they weigh more. And actually, if you are shooting in a cold environment, I've actually had this tripod freeze up on me to where I couldn't collapse it back down, and I couldn't move the column, and actually even the ball head froze up. So everything on this one froze up until I got it into a warmer climate. Carbon fiber is definitely lighter than the aluminum, but carbon fiber can be a little more, how do I say, the legs when they're fully extended can be a little more flimsy, and so you can actually end up with movement. They aren't as susceptible to cold weather like the aluminum is, but that being said, I have had the legs freeze up on this as well, but that was generally due to ice buildup. I was actually taking a photo of Niagara Falls and the mist was coming off the falls. So those are the two types of construction. So another feature of a tripod that you may want to consider, especially if you're purchasing one, is how the legs extend, what mechanism you use. I've got both examples here. Let's get this one out of the way. I've got examples of both types. These are flip locks, which you just flip the little lever and then you can extend your legs. And I've also got on my carbon fiber, I've got the twist locks where you simply just twist and then that extends legs. So those are the two types. There may be other types out there. I haven't seen other types other than those two, but those are the two types. Of the two, I probably would go with the flip locks. I bought the twist locks on this one because I had the flip locks and I wanted to see which one was more convenient. If I had to do it over again, I would probably buy the flip locks. Just my personal opinion. Some people may like the twist a little bit better, but I find the flip locks to be a little bit faster setup and breakdown. Another feature of tripods is the center column. Actually, let me use the smaller one here. Is the center column. Now, some tripods don't have a center column, and for this one, I'm glad I have it. For this one, in some ways, I wish I didn't have the center tripod, but the way that the center column articulates on this, I can actually overcome the disadvantage of having a center column. So the advantage of having a center column is that it allows you to extend the height of the tripod a little higher. You want to be cautious if you do this because it does add instability. You can see it wiggles there. It's not a very stable position for the tripod. So use the center column sparingly. Make sure there's no wind. If your camera's on this and it's windy, it'll definitely move. So the disadvantage of having a center column is if you are trying to get low to the ground, well, as you can see, I can only go as low as that center column. So I either have to extend the center column up, which again is a weak point. Let's lock these in. Come on. So I can't get down as low as I necessarily would like to with the center column. So without the center column, I could, if this didn't have a center column, I could extend these legs out flat and get that camera really low if you're trying to get a low perspective. So that's one of the advantages of having a tripod that doesn't have a center column. So the last feature I'd like to talk about is the head. The head of the tripod is where your camera is going to mount. There are a lot of different types of heads. There's like a gimbal head, a self-leveling head, there's a head for panorama, there's heads for tracking if you do astrophotography. But the two common heads are ball heads and tilt pan heads. Now, for photography, I use ball head, and I'll show you that in a little bit why. The tilt pan heads are generally for video, and you can see on this one, this cheapo, I think I got it with a camcorder years and years ago, but you can see the tilt pans and it tilts. But generally you want to use that for video, not for photography. With the ball head, you have this knob here, and that tightens or loosens the ball. And if you loosen it, you can see that, that you can tilt this anyway. So if your tripod is, say, mounted on a hill or something, or not level, you can easily level it by adjusting the ball head, okay? The other, then when you go to take your photo, you want to tighten it up, and that keeps it from moving. There's also another knob here for panning, and that's good for if you're taking, say, a panorama. All right, so that's a ball head. One other part of the ball head, there's usually like this little cutout, and what that does is it allows you, if we take a look at this, when it's loose, this is the max angle, but there's a little cutout here that allows me to put it 90 degrees. So if you're trying to, say, get a straight down shot, or very shallow angle, or steep angle, I should say, that gives you the opportunity to do that. Also, if you want to shoot portrait mode with your camera, you can mount your camera in portrait mode. Now, let's talk a little bit about taking portrait modes. I didn't like using this method to take portrait modes because the camera, with the weight when it was over here, I always felt it was unstable. It was, I have a heavier DSLR, and I always felt it wanted to tip by the time the camera was out here. So I tended not to use that. What I did is I put an Arca Swiss plate on here, and then I have an L bracket on my camera that allows me to either mount it landscape or portrait, depending on what I want to use. So it keeps the camera over the center and it's not off to the side. So that may be something you want to consider also when you buy a tripod. This tripod came with a Swiss Arca plate on it. The Manfrotto had a Manfrotto special kind of plate, but I put a Arca Swiss on top of that. So just another thing you might want to consider when you're buying a tripod, you might want to go ahead and buy an Arca Swiss plate, or make sure that the tripod comes with an Arca Swiss plate, and then buy an L bracket that you know, goes with your camera. You want to make sure you buy it for your camera, that it fits your camera, because if you got ports and stuff like that, you want room to go through the L bracket to get to those ports. That's pretty much it for tripods. You know, there's probably some other things that I missed, but those are the basic things, and probably the things you want to consider most when you're buying a tripod. You know, cost-wise, these things are really cheap. I would steer clear of anything you're gonna find on Amazon, say for like $20, you know, $30. I think to get a good quality tripod, you're probably looking at $150, around in that range. This is a Manfrotto BeFree model. This I wanna say was maybe $130 when I bought this. This tripod here, again, the carbon fiber, was probably closer to say like $350. Actually, I think I tried to look this up and they're not available anymore. This is a Vanguard EVO. There's a Vanguard EVO 2, which is nothing like this tripod. The one nice thing about this is it has an articulating column. Stay away from these. You can use them in a pinch if you need to. I have them around. I use them for, say, holding equipment or something, like maybe a light or, I don't know. I do use them here and there, but I wouldn't trust my camera. I wouldn't be putting them on anything like this. Yeah, these are pretty much junk. So that's it for the video. I mentioned about shooting panoramas with tripods. If you're interested in that, I've got a video right here. If you want to take a look at that, go ahead and click on that link. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.